10, 219, 219.
Forward Progress, a Chicago Bears podcast with Dan Bernstein and Matt Abeticola on 312 Sports.
We give you Forward Progress on 312 Sports, a Chicago Bears podcast. We are brought to you by Church Brewing, New Buffalo's brewery-pizzeria, and a historic church wood-fired Neapolitan pizza, small batch craft beer, and brunch every day. Visit beerchurchbrewing.com. And talking Bears with us today is Patrick Finley, Chicago Bears reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times and co-host of the Hallis Intrigue podcast. And we're happy to have him here. Thanks for joining us today, Patrick. Appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, of course. How are you guys?
We're good, man. It's good to see you. It's been some time, so it's great. It's great to catch up with you, man. I appreciate you doing this.
It's fun that the Bears are doing something interesting that's not dismantling the club or having some sort of terrible thing going on.
Yeah, so that signing of CJ Gardner-Johnson, he has a little bit of a history with the Chicago Bears, and he's had some travels in his 6, 7, 8-year career wherever he's been. What do you think of the signing? Obviously out of necessity. But how do you think this could possibly impact a locker room right now that seems like it's doing well and is currently 4-3?
I think it's a little desperate. Obviously, they've lost so many cornerbacks that they need to go find talent somewhere. And the reason that CJ Gardner-Johnson is available is because he's difficult. He's a guy who, since March, he's been traded once and cut twice. And that's not because of his skill level. It's because he wants to play, and when he doesn't play, I think he pitches. He has a tendency to pitch a fit, at least. It'll be interesting to see how he fits into this locker room. You've got a team that is among the worst in the league in terms of penalties. You have a new head coach. Those are two places where you'd think he wouldn't be a great fit, but Dennis Allen was his coordinator in New Orleans for 3 years. Ben Johnson was in Detroit for a season with him. So they say they think it'll work. We'll see. I'm expecting maybe not the best ending here, one way or the other. They're going to get because they're going to get Kyler Gordon back in a month, and then I don't know what you're going to do with this guy. If he stays on the straight and narrow, he can help, and maybe he can stick around and help afterwards. But as we sit here right now, the Bears' two safeties are healthy. They're two of their better defenders. And so he's not going to play on merit if Kyler Gordon gets back and can go.
We are going to ride the roller coaster for another week with Caleb Williams. And part of that is on us, that it's our projections, it's our reactions. And my question to you is, how well does the whole Caleb Williams, the imposition of our rubric on him, how we grade him, how much does that sync up with how he's actually being graded internally? What's real when it comes to not just his development but the timeline for his development? Are they seeing what we see in the way that we see it?
Maybe not with the emotion that we see it. I think that I honestly feel bad for any quarterback who has stepped into Chicago and is expected to be the first good quarterback they've had in 105 years. It's just a lot of pressure. And I think the fan base lives and dies, not only game by game, but quarter by quarter. And I don't think that's a healthy environment for anybody to try to succeed in. Now, when he throws an interception to somebody who is covered well and has the safety over the top, when the Bears have a chance to take a lead in a game that they need to win, the coaching staff sees that certainly the same way the fans do. When he struggles to get going, they talk about, well, once we get a first down, we're in business. Okay, great. Let's get a first down. And when he fails to kind of create his own spark there, that's something the coaching staff sees just as well as we do, but they know that this is going to take a little bit of time. And I'm not sure that the fan base, maybe the fan base can intellectualize that it takes time, but that's hard to explain at the end of every game on Sundays. So they see the mistakes that we see. I think they see the growth that we see, but they know that, I've been of the belief that if they knew by the end of the season that he is a keeper and somebody who can be here for the next 5 to 7 years, that would be a tremendous success, regardless of record. And I still do believe that. I don't know a lot of Bears fans who would agree with me when I say that.
All right, so Caleb, this is a hard question, Pat. How has he grown, and what have you seen from the first day that he came into Hallis Hall to where he is now? He's had an off season and a half. He's had 2 training camps to get through. I know 2 head coaches, multiple offensive coordinators, but how has he grown from day one to where he is now?
Boy, that is a tough question. I think that he is comfortable in an NFL offense in a way that he wasn't even at the end of last year. Now we can sit here and watch him throw the 2 balls out of bounds on Sunday and sit there and go, how is that guy comfortable? But I do think that more often than not, maybe the preponderance of the time, he drops back there. I think he looks like somebody who has been well coached. That was not the case last year. I think the flash plays are there. There were 3 or 4 balls he threw the other day that honestly 5 guys on the planet could probably do. And boy, that makes you fall in love with him. But then there are basics that he still hasn't mastered. I think that his ability to stay healthy is certainly something that is valuable. I think this season, his ability to avoid sacks is a tremendous step forward from what was going on the other day or last year. And it is a credit to both Ben Johnson and him. Now, statistically, he's not spectacular. I can't sit here with a straight face and make an argument with you that he is growing by leaps and bounds, every other game, because he's not. It's really just up and down almost consistently. And I understand how that can get frustrating, both for the people inside the building and the people outside it.
So have we moved the goalpost, though? To what extent is greatness, transcendent play from a guy number 1 overall pick, is that now off the table?
No.
Are we slowly downsizing expectations, or what did we say? The soft influence of lowered expectations?
Is that a George H.W. Bush line? Was that his? Somebody used that line.
No, I was trying to take the sting out of it, because I believe that the term is the soft racism.
Soft bigotry.
It's soft bigotry.
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't moved the goalpost, but I think inside Hallis Hall, if he won a playoff game, that'd be the best thing to happen inside Hallis Hall in a generation. And I don't think that that's a lofty goal for somebody who you build your team around. So in that sense, maybe, but I think he still needs to be the best quarterback in his own draft. And that's not happening.
Fourth, right?
3rd or 4th, depending on what you think about Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this 4-year rookie contract that, Caleb could be up there. And I think that's still completely on the table. But, he needs to be the reason why they win games. Let's start there. And that has not been the case this season. When you're getting 3 or 4 takeaways a game and you're just, hanging on to beat the New Orleans Saints and the Las Vegas Raiders of the world, that's not what the Bears are looking for. The Bears need to stomp those guys. And Caleb Williams needs to be the reason why they do it. We haven't seen it yet.
Why does this team and this offense struggle beyond scripted plays?
That's a wonderful question. I think that Caleb has struggled this year in deciding whether to tuck the ball or whether to throw on broken plays. I think when he throws on broken plays, that's the thing he does best in the world. And I would suggest that he lean into that. But especially in the red zone, for me, it comes down to the red zone more than anything else. He's not decisive enough. You go to the first drive they had in the red zone all season. They're playing against Minnesota, and it's 3rd and goal at the 6, I believe. And he takes off and runs to the front left pylon and scores. You go, oh, okay, that was easy. And he hasn't really done that since. I think they need him to be able to use his legs when he gets outside. And they need to find a receiver not named Roma Dunze who they can throw to down there. And is that Colston Loveland? Maybe. Is it Cole Kmet if he's healthy? Maybe. Is there a way to get the ball into DJ Moore's hands that makes sense in the red zone? Because I think him in the open field is a really good weapon, but when you're down tight there, that doesn't really work. they need to turn these threes into sevens. And I think, that falls onto Caleb more than anybody, but it's also a personnel issue. They also need guys who can win their one-on-one matchups.
Maybe you've asked about this, and perhaps I've just missed it in the Ben Johnson era. Mm-hmm. But what do we know about their scramble rules? What do we know about what Ben Johnson wants them to do when a play breaks down to give them some sense of structure amid chaos?
We know that one of the things they looked at during the bye week was how attentive their receivers had been to the scramble rules, and they decided that they had not been attentive enough. Now, what the exact rules are, I don't think anybody's asked him, but generally it has come back to the ball, go toward the sideline, and make sure that you were on a different level than another receiver who is doing the same thing. So I think we saw some improvement last week, particularly in the first half. But against the Saints, it still looked broken. And that's too bad, because that was something that they had focused on for the bye and leading up to that Saints game.
You go back to Rome real quick and talk about how he's been targeted a lot by Caleb. And Ben talked about that yesterday when you guys all met with him. And he mentioned how Rome is generally the primary guy in a lot of those play calls. And it's on him to maybe get other guys to be primary. Is Ben being truthful on that, or is he really trying to help his quarterback out a little bit in the media, that he looks at Rome and looks at Rome only?
You know what? I asked him that question because I'm working on something about exactly that. And I think Rome is 16th in the NFL in target share, which means that, he gets a pretty good percentage of the ball thrown his way. And, you compare that with Jamar Chase, who every pass the Bengals throw goes in his direction, and it doesn't seem so bad. But, the good news with Rome is there's a chemistry there with Caleb. I mean, we've been begging for this since what? Did Justin ever have this? He didn't. Did Mitch ever have this? He didn't. Maybe with Allen Robinson every once in a while. But this is good news. But, at some point, you have to wonder whether he locks in too much. That, interception the other day being a prime example of that. What Ben said was that as a play caller, he has different receivers or tight ends as the primary on different plays. And that before every Sunday, he sits down and makes sure that it's relatively balanced. Is that DJ's the primary on a certain number, and maybe Loveland on a certain number and Rome on a certain number, and it's on him to make sure that he calls the plays so it's not always Rome. I think that was him deflecting a little bit from his quarterback, but I do think that there is some truth there that if Caleb's not getting to the third and fourth read very often, that needs to get better. But, so whatever Ben calls, if you're the first or second read, there needs to be a balance there where it's more than just Rome Odunze.
I've talked about this throughout the year, and maybe I'm alone on this island of wanting the Bears to show more of a commitment to being a wide zone run team and everything that comes with that commitment. I understand that they're also going to run gap schemes, that there's going to be some power football in there. We've seen the tight end motion in and out of an H-back, hand on the ground, I formation. So it still seems like there's a lot in there and a lot of possibilities, which isn't itself bad. But the best way to run outside zone and everything off of it, like we did in the first couple series of the last game, with all of those boot actions, with all of those weak side responses, is to make that more of a cultural shift than it is just a play call, particularly because of what Drew Dahlman is really good at and how they can run things to the side to Darnell Wright in that way. It's okay to be like a right-handed zone team. Is that just not what Johnson does because of his desire to show so many different looks?
I don't think that. I think that he is agnostic in terms of he's a fan of whatever works. And, you're right that using Darnell Wright's athleticism is a wonderful idea.
That you could run over him every time.
Yes, you could. And even Kmet, and we can say what we will about Kmet. Kmet is a willing run blocker. And I think you felt his absence the other day, particularly when you're using a backup tackle at fullback and going in motion, things like that. Yeah, I think he could do that more. Where I get my issue is I think you need to be able to run power in the red zone. And I think that they need to be able to get more efficient at that. Some of that is scheme. Some of that is blocking. Some of that is Caleb carrying out a run fake and in a way that keeps everybody honest, because I don't know whether you've seen those. They're not particularly good.
No, his sleight of hand is rudimentary at this stage. He's not advanced when it comes to moving and hiding the ball.
And remember, the whole reason that they decided that they were going to put Caleb under center when Ben Johnson got here was that Ben's belief is that when the quarterback turns his back to the linebackers, it's a better fake. Whether it's a good fake or not, it holds them in a way that a shotgun fake does not. So we need Caleb to get better at that. I think you make a good point on the outside run, but again, I think you need to get hard yards, and the Bears, I think, are proving week in and week out that they're not very good at that.
Are their guards athletic enough in the power game? And I mean, as good as Tooney has been, as solid as he is, a pass protector, and as responsible as he is, do they have the ability to get a move guy in some of the power stuff?
I think they do. Remember, I mean, Joe Tooney's one of the best, 10 guards in the league, probably. And, from the people I know who know football better than I do, they don't believe that he's fallen off one bit this season. And then your other guard was a Pro Bowler in Ben Johnson's system. So I do think that they're athletic enough to be able to do it. We can talk about left tackle. That, to me, is the one problem in the group there. And, you have to wonder whether Theo Benedict's violence as a run blocker makes up for the fact that, he's going to get beat on passing downs. But yeah, I think they have the pieces there. And that sounds crazy to say, because what's the last time we could say that around here? I think most of their O-line is better than average. And my God, there were years where we would have settled for most of them being below average, and it still would have been an upgrade.
So earlier this week, Ben Johnson issued a code red, told the team leaders to clean up the penalties and all the mistakes and get things right in the locker room. For this game against the Bengals. Who are the identified team leaders outside of the captains?
Oh, outside of the captains, that's a good question. I mean, I think you've got the Kevin Byards of the world, who I think is unquestionably probably the most respected guy in the locker room here. I think Cole Kmet works there. Joe Tooney is not a vocal person. Joe Tooney certainly is not vocal with the media, but he is in that group as well. DeAndre Swift, I think, would surprise you in terms of his ability to motivate his teammates, because he's one of those guys that, does not put that out there for the world to see. So I think that's part of it. But, I got the impression with Ben that, after months of begging his team to stop this and, doing it through the media and behind closed doors, that there was very much the vibe of a parent being like, all right, you guys just got to figure it out then. Like, it's just, I'm tired of screaming at you to clean up your room. Just go do it. And maybe that'll work. But again, you send that message about how important leadership is, and then you sign CJ Gardner-Johnson and come out and say nothing's more important than the locker room.
That's what we talked about yesterday.
That's what I said yesterday. It's like discipline, self-control, and here's CJ Gardner-Johnson.
I mean, he was ejected from a game last year. And Ben says yesterday, well, nothing's more important than our locker room. And okay, actions speak louder than words sometimes. And maybe Gardner-Johnson is going to fit in well here. Maybe having veteran leaders around is going to help him. But, he came from the Eagles last year, which was nothing but veteran guys and a really good second-year defensive tackle. And that seemed to work out okay.
Where is Ryan Poles in the equation at the moment? Once the season begins, and if everybody's true to their word, Poles is not micromanaging the roster at this point. It belongs to the coaches. They are making their decisions regardless of draft pedigree, regardless of size of contract. And we can all believe that to be true to whatever extent we want. What's the read that you get about what we believe is an increasing influence by the coaching staff over the shape and nature of the roster?
Yeah, I think that's true, that it's an increasing influence of the head coach for sure. And, and in the case of Gardner-Johnson, I'm sure Ben is talking to Dennis Allen. And I'm sure Ryan is talking to both of those guys about, okay, are we going to do this? And I think Poles, the trade deadline's next week. Poles is the general manager of the team. He is going to have his say in everything, but I don't think it's just his voice anymore. And you could argue that that's the way the modern NFL has worked for the last 20 years, and good for the Bears for catching up. You could argue that, that Ben Johnson is making what he's making in part because he carries influence and gets a vote here in a way that Matt Eberflus never did. I think both of those things are good things. But Ryan Poles, it's not like Ryan Poles, is taking his hand off the wheel and is just letting Ben steer here. I think it's as much of a partnership as you can have there.
Now, if Ben had influence on bringing CJ Gardner-Johnson in, and you look at Dennis Allen, his time with them, and Ben was there in Detroit. Mm-hmm. What did you hear when Ben was talking about it? Like, what did you hear between the lines? Because it didn't sound like a full-fledged endorsement or I pushed for this. It was like, oh, in Detroit he was on IR for a while, and DA had him for a while, but it was a while ago. And like, what did you walk away with as far as an endorsement level from the head coach?
I mean, he said he thinks it's a good fit. Okay. I mean, and we had asked about his time in Detroit, and he said, well, he's hurt a lot. Like,
yeah,
that's probably not, like you said, that's probably not the vibe that they should be putting out there. Ben should probably say, what he thought of the guy. I thought it was very telling that Kevin Byard, who again, most respected guy in the locker room, there's probably a big gap between him and number 2, said yesterday, well, Dennis Rodman with the Bulls was pretty good. He just admitted, all right, this guy's probably a little nutty, but sometimes that works out, and sometimes you need one of those guys. Now in the NBA, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, the old saying in the NBA is you can have one crazy guy, you can't have two, right? I'm curious how many an NFL locker room can have, because at least on the field, I think we've seen Shaquan Brisker play with that hair on fire mentality that usually serves him well and sometimes does not. And if the two of them egg each other on, I don't know whether that's one crazy guy too many.
Well, that's a job that's in place for Kevin Byard. Then it sounds like.
Yeah, the team captain, being team captain, just got an extra responsibility.
How long do they keep Josh Moody on the practice squad? And I know it may not be up to them, because I'm surprised that he hasn't been signed away. This came into focus when Kairos Santos left that 58-yard end-of-half kick short after they scrambled out to make the kick. I know that maybe the mitigating factor was they didn't switch out the ball in play for the rounder, more responsive K-ball, right. But you need a guy who can at least get it there. And it's sort of like it is with the quarterback. You always have people clamoring for the next guy who happens to be around. Are they really evaluating this sort of game-to-game, kick-to-kick?
No, I think Kairos their kicker. And I think if you go look at Kairos' career stats from 50 yards out, look at Jake Moody's, Kairos much, much, much better. So, maybe there's a world where Jake makes that kick because, he does have a really strong leg, but he's usually not particularly accurate there. Maybe it hits the net, but it's off to the side. And I realized that's a better miss in the eyes of most fans, is that he had all the leg, but it was too far right or too far left. But I think Cairo is their kicker until future notice. In terms of how long they keep him, I think this is proof that this is a pretty good roster building idea here. I mean, remember, they added extra practice squad spots a couple of years ago, and is keeping another kicker really a worse idea than keeping a 9th wide receiver? Half the Bears, practice squad roster are guys I could make up their names right now, and even the most hardcore Bears fan wouldn't know that I'm making up their names. They're just guys. I think the idea of keeping a kicker there is a smart one. And how long he stays is probably just a function of whether some other team goes and offers him a 53-man roster spot. They can call him up one more time from the practice squad without having to add him full time. I don't think they're going to do that unless something happens to Cairo.
Without comparing Ben Johnson to previous Bears head coaches, how would you evaluate his first year as a coach? I mean, we're about almost halfway through his first season as a head coach. How do you evaluate Ben Johnson?
Without comparing him to other Bears
coaches?
Yes,
don't do that. Don't do that.
As a media member, I think he's doing a wonderful job because he is direct with us. He is there is a chip on his shoulder and an aura about him that is, quite frankly, interesting. I think it's compelling both for players and for those of us who follow the team and cover the team. And that is a very good thing. I think that his in-game coaching, hopefully will get better. We look at the scripted stuff and it's so good. And then you sit there and go, where's this stuff in the fourth quarter? I think he will learn how to counter in a way that he never had to as a coordinator. And I think, the deal is when you are a franchise that has only ever hired really assistant coaches to be head coaches, except for John Fox that one time and somebody in 1940. You have to live with this. You have to live with the on-the-job training. And I think that we are seeing Ben having to learn on the fly a little bit. And I can forgive that because, like I said, that's he's never been a head coach before. He doesn't have experience until he does.
All right. Now you can compare it to previous head coaches. How are things different in Hal's Hall?
There is a straightforward nature of Ben that was not there with Matt Eberflus for sure. There's
a working brain that wasn't there with Matt Eberflus. Straightforward nature that the guy isn't.
Patrick's being nice. He's being polite. He's being kind.
Blocks.
There's an intensity to him that is, I think when he first got here, I thought that he was kind of a charming, social guy who had an intense side to him. Now I believe he's an intense guy who has a social side to him, if that makes sense.
Wow. Totally.
Yes.
Right, interesting.
And I think he's got the emotional intelligence to toggle between the two. This is somebody who will stop practice and use a lot of great words, and also somebody who wrote a poem about Brian Piccolo. So there's a depth there that might not have been there. Matt Nagy, when things were good, was really fun to cover. And I think people forget that. He seemed to be enjoying himself, and he seemed to have the attention of his team in a way that I haven't seen in my 13 years here. I think Ben has a chance to be like that, and that it could have some real staying power, and then probably be able to handle the dips a little better than Matt Nagy did.
Let me ask you this then, because you brought up Matt Nagy. And
13 years, though. I can't believe it's been 13 years. Jeez.
So
you're telling me.
we have heard Nagy's name resurface again. Mm-hmm. And we know that sometimes it is that a second go-round for an NFL head coach can work. It can hit. You don't have to go back to Bill Belichick or Mike Shanahan. That sometimes guys really do learn their lessons and really do find themselves in a better place. And maybe I'm just more receptive to professional reinvention on that level because of my own experiences. But do you think it's possible that Matt Nagy could take over the right team at the right time and be a really good NFL head coach?
Sure. You should. Yes, I do. I think that Nashville, to me, would be a good landing spot for him. You've got the quarterback. You need somebody with energy there. I think you need somebody who can sell the program a little bit as they're building this stadium, and I do think that he has the charm to be able to do that. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The question, if you're Matt, is are you going to be the next Andy Reid in Kansas City? And if so, do you want to stick around until, whenever that retirement happens?
Yeah, but there's downsides to that too. Following a legend and a champion can be very, very difficult.
Yes, except, it's kind of, who was the guy, Dan, who was the guy who followed Wooden? Why am I blanking on the guy who followed John Wooden at UCLA?
The immediate follow of John Wooden.
Yeah, he wound up at UAB. Whatever.
Yes. Murray Bartow.
Gene Bartow.
Gene Bartow. Murray's the kid. Gene Bartow. Yes.
Yeah. I think there's an element of that where, boy, it's horrible to follow John Wooden, but you get the Bill Waltons and Lou Alcindors of the world, who you get to coach as an assistant. And if I am Matt, I think following Andy Reid would be tough, but I think in the interim, you get to coach the transcendent player of our generation. And while you wait, I think that's a pretty good situation.
All right, looking ahead to this game on Sunday against the Bengals, with or without Joe Flacco, what do the Bears need to do to win this game?
They need to score in the red zone. I hate to beat that to death, but they do. I think doing that requires a run game that is a lot closer to what they did 2 and 3 games ago than it was last week. And I think that they need to hold Jamar Chase to 120 receiving yards.
That's it, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to throw the ball to him 40 times. I think that's I don't think that they should try to race the Bengals to 40. I think that they should try to race the Bengals to 28 or 29. And doing that requires Caleb Williams being accurate as a passer and the Bears running the ball the right way. And, and if you can pop a couple, great. But if not, there is nothing wrong with getting 4.5 yards on 1st and 10.
Well, I'd like to get specific about Jamar Chase, because if you're playing an outside leverage on Chase, Flacco will kill you with that slant.
Yep.
It's an easy pass for him, and he'll throw it every time. Why doesn't I don't know why they didn't make the adjustment, why other teams haven't done it. Why don't you go with inside leverage and just make it a more difficult pass and use the sideline as an extra defender? I mean, I don't care if you sell out. That if unless you're worried about a stop and go, are you worried about a double move, that why not force everything to the perimeter?
I think that makes sense on, 3rd and manageable. I would just wonder about him beating you deep. And, especially if the Bears are going to trot out, if Tyreek Stevenson's not going to be healthy, say what you will about Tyreek. Tyreek's their best option against him. If Tyreek is out there, maybe I have a little more faith that he can take him deep even with bad leverage there. But I don't know. This guy's going to kill you one way or the other. I think if you're the Bears, you need to get to the quarterback and at least make it interesting every once in a while, because otherwise, like you said, the Bears traditionally struggle with quarterbacks who know where the ball's going. And say what you will about Joe Flacco, but
that's really not a great thing.
Not a good thing.
No,
I
don't like the sound of that.
But I mean, do you know what I'm saying though? Like,
yes.
Joe Flacco is not the world's most athletic person, and but he knows where the ball's going, and having somebody who can answer every question there, the least you can do is try and knock him down and make him process things a little quicker.
All right, lastly, the last thing I have for you, trade deadline. It is, we pay a lot of attention, maybe more attention to it than we have in the past, because I think teams very slowly are a little less reluctant to make some of the moves that they might have been in the past. Where the Bears are right now in the big picture, is there any reason why they would value anything in the present over the future?
I don't think so, unless you're just looking for legs who can play corner, or maybe a situational pass rusher, kind of like, a guy who you'd give 15 snaps to a game. They seem to be kind of in the murky middle here, and that's not a bad thing, because there've been years here when they need to sell everything, where I don't think that they're one established veteran away from winning a playoff game right now. But I also think that subtracting from this team, when they are going to have at least a 500 record at the deadline, and when you need to give your quarterback, who is developing, all the offensive weapons you can, I think that's foolish too. So I think they're probably somewhere in the middle. You could talk me into them adding a defensive back, or an edge rusher, but boy, those are two positions that, good teams don't give those guys away.
Right.
So I think it'll probably be quiet. I've been wrong before, but I think that I think they're going to stick with what they've got.
All right, Patrick, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it. Great stuff. And always enjoy reading your stuff. You can always check him out, the Sun-Times, Bears Beat Reporter, and also the podcast, Hallis Intrigue, as well. So, Patrick, thank you so much for your time, my friend.
Hey, anytime. Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
That's Patrick Finley of the Chicago Sun-Times. Good stuff in there.
Yeah, very good. I can't believe it's 13 years. It's goes so fast.
I think the last time I saw him in person was in Bourbonnais.
Yes, and I've been to Bourbonnais in forever, so.
Well, they won't let you back.
Well, yeah.
At least
bring
with
all
me.
the amaretto, yeah.
At least with you, me, and Johnny something.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Or that rando that gave us the ride with the broken windshield.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because we couldn't drive anywhere. We didn't have cars. I think
we were like bumming rides from people.
Yes, that was a successful night. Was that the night
can you drive us home?
Was that the White Castle night?
Either that or Steak and Shake. Was that the big Steak and Shake night with you and the vegetable soup?
Oh, it might have been. I can't. They blend. They all blur together.
Well, we had a big table of people, and I knocked out the 7-on-7. 7 by 7.
Yes, the 7x7. You killed that, and then I made you eat the bowl of soup.
You made everybody have soup.
Yeah, because I was like, it's the best soup.
Yeah, you were like the ambassador of soup.
Everybody
get vegetable beef soup.
Soup for everyone.
Yep.
But then then there was the White Castle day where it wasn't all over your room. There were bags and
yeah.
Yeah,
then there was the time I left one of the bags in the road at the drive-thru because I don't know how it slipped out of my hand.
Still not the best fast food though. The best fast food story
was the Taco Bell
meatless tacos.
Meatless tacos. I got 12 tacos and 6 of them had no meat in them.
They had lettuce and they had cheese and tomatoes, and I was like, "Well, let's go back."
No tomatoes.
It was just lettuce and cheese.
Yeah, I didn't get them deluxe.
Lettuce and cheese only, no meat. And I was like, "Let's go back." And you're like, "No, I'm good."
Well, I just put some sauce in there, and I was tired.
Yeah, you weren't tired.
I was also tired.
Okay, also tired. Sure.
Right, you can't prove. I was also tired at that point.
Good stuff though with Patrick Finley. You know, I'm curious to see what they do to take advantage of this center. It was Ted Karras taking. I mean, his first NFL snaps.
Yeah, I got a note reminding us. University of Illinois, Teddy Karras.
Oh, was he really?
Yes. He's at University of Illinois and the great nephew of Alex Karras, as we talked about. So the way you take advantage of him is you put Andrew Billings on top of him.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. You know, and then how does that impact the rest of what you do? How can it? So,
and there's some shifting that you can do because usually they don't use a zero technique. But if you want to really bother a center, you say, hey, 97.
Big guy,
get your big fat ass over here, and usually they will do some shifting immediate pre-snap, like hand on the ground. You'll hear Billings yell "move," and then they'll shift, and he can shift right nose to nose, hat to hat. Have fun with that.
Yeah, enjoy that. Good luck, Teddy.
It would be like the day when Terry and I interviewed Bears' 7th round pick. I think his name was Brian Anderson out of Pitt. You were there, I think.
Okay, I don't remember this.
And he was going up against Ted Washington and Keith Traylor. And we're like, hey, let's talk to the draft pick. You don't remember this?
No.
Okay, so he sits down, and he was almost crying. It was right after practice. And we're like, hey, we'll do the interview. Sure. And he comes over. He was anxious. And so how's practice going? And he said, they're so big. Remember? It's like they're so big. And I said, are things going well? I was like, Ted Washington, he's so strong and big and fast.
Oh, God.
And he was cut the next day.
Poor kid. Oh, Jesus. Because of that interview?
No, it was because he apparently couldn't block.
Yeah.
And I remember
that's a problem for an offensive lineman.
And I talked to one of the scouts about him.
Yeah,
I said, yeah. And it was before it, and one of the scout back when all the scouts would hang around. You kind of. He's like, yeah, I like the guys, but he's just a right guard. Like he is. If he makes in the NFL, it's only going to be as a right guard. And I'm thinking to myself, why did you draft him then?
Yeah,
like that's not a guy you draft out of college. If it's like having a drafting a college first baseman.
Yeah, if he's
like
immediately emotionally overwhelmed, that's a problem.
I think it was the first padded practice or something. It's like they're so big. He's really, really fast. And apparently they were just picking him, like throwing him around like a chair.
Those were the good old days, though, of training camp down in Bourbon. When our guy Jerry would just walk around and we'd hang out with Jerry.
How you doing?
He was our pal. Hey, I was looking at some old Bengals games highlights over the last few weeks, and I was watching that Jets game last week, and so hopefully the Bears can do some damage on the scoreboard like Justin Fields and the Jets have done. I came across these next gen stats that you like. There's a next gen stat. I don't know if you saw this one. It's called improbable completions. Have you taken a look at this?
It sounds like the name of a reality show or something. Yeah. Robert Stack brings you improbable completions.
So the next gen stat, they take the look, the machine, the learning model determines that the probability of a pass being completed They've named it completion probability. The machine learning model takes into account next-gen stats such as air distance, air yards, receiver separation. It also leverages other
similar plays, right?
Yeah, other unrecorded metrics such as distance from the sideline, and then they come up with this improbable completion percentage.
I get it.
So there's the top 20. Of the top 20, 19 are quarterbacks, which makes the most sense. Breece Hall threw a touchdown pass in the game against the Bengals, and it ranks number 16.
Wait, does a non-quarterback get an adjustment improbability factor?
It doesn't say that it does.
Because I would think,
looking at the factors, you think it should, but
of course it should. If
it
a punter or a wide receiver or a non-quarterback throws the pass, the probability should immediately decrease the moment you know he's throwing it.
Yeah, I think looking at the factors they used to measure this, it doesn't take into account who throws the ball. It's just a thrown ball that's received for a touchdown.
Got it.
And the percent. So the completion probability on that play was 18%. It's 16th on the list right now. And I don't know if you saw the play, but he gets a pitch at like the 6-yard line, takes a couple steps up, and then just throws it to a tight end who's in the back corner of the end zone with a defender. He throws it over a defender. There's a second defender face guarding him. Back completely to the play, though. Has no idea that the ball's coming and just catches it right over the top of his helmet. It's a really fun play, but I was wondering where that play would rank when I saw the highlight of it, and sure enough, it landed in the top 20 at number 16.
Good for him. I don't know why it popped into my timeline yesterday, but the fake field goal that the Seattle Seahawks ran with the completion on Monday Night Football to Efren Herrera. I don't know why it was in my timeline.
It just came up?
I don't know, but it was just there, and I remember watching it.
Yeah.
But then it looked so old in my mind. It doesn't look that old. It looks ancient.
Yeah.
Ancient. And I was like, oh, geez. Because he was lining up for this field goal, like, oh, this is a tough field goal. I'm like, what? No, it's not. It's not a tough field goal at all. It's like he's a soccer-style kicker.
Well, it was a long time ago.
And you had to note that the person was a soccer-style kicker and not a straight-on kicker.
Yeah.
And he goes right through the middle, and they lob it over the defense, and he takes a big hit, hangs onto the ball, and little Efren Herrera pops up. Teammates are all over him. And that felt like it was relatively recent to me.
Well, even watching old highlights from the 80s when we were a lot younger, obviously, the size of the shoulder pads and like the 85 Bears.
Not only that, the speed at which everybody's moving.
Yes. People would get killed today. Oh, my God. Like, you send a team back, send the worst team back, the worst team in the league right now, send them back 40 years.
If you sent these Tennessee Titans or you pick anybody,
they'd kill them.
They'd shut everybody out. They'd score every time. Yes. That's sports.
Your guy Callahan would still have a job. He wouldn't be at the auto parts store.
But that's sports. That's sort of like that's.
But don't tell Jordan that, though.
Well, we had that discussion where we were mentioning that the last year's Thunder would beat the 96 Bulls as easily as those 96 Bulls would have beaten the 66 Lakers.
Yes. That's correct.
And that's what happens in sports.
That's correct. I mean, because you have guys they're all 7 feet, they're all fast, they all shoot threes. It wouldn't.
It would be an absolutely and
like the old post up moves that the big men would have would get. First of all, they wouldn't be able to move.
People got mad. Like, what are the rules? They changed. I said, whatever rules, whatever you want. Yeah. It would be. They'd look at after warm-ups. After warm-ups, they'd be like, whoa, we're in trouble.
Right. Yeah. You get guys that are 7'5",
like
handling the ball.
Imagine the 96 Bulls against the 66 Lakers and Jerry West and Elgin Baylor and like
Bulls they would kill them.
Greats. Oh, they destroy. They'd win every game by 40.
Yeah.
Same thing would happen with last year's Thunder against but that's good. That's sports. It evolves. Things get the average player gets way better. way better.
Well, yeah, I mean nutrition and the way you're taking care of bodies and what you do, and
just
now that
practice. Look at what high school.
I mean, the money in it, so it's year round. Where I mean, you look at guys like Doug and stuff. Buffon, they're like selling shoes in the off season and getting jobs and bouncers at bars because they needed the money.
Yeah.
Now you can do it 24/7. Yeah, needed food. Why are you doing this job? I need to eat, buddy.
Oh, buddy, I'm hungry. I gotta go. Gotta invest in a nightclub.
Oh, Dougie.
Yeah. Don't make me sad. So that's going to do it today.
Yeah.
For
that was
this.
good. That was great. That was awesome.
That was really good.
Yeah.
That was forward progress, and we look forward to tomorrow's show as well. We're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty on the Bears and the Cincinnati Bengals, look at some matchups, and start figuring out if we think the Bears are going to win. Because I don't know yet. I got to know more about Flacco.
I just liked what Patrick said about the Bears. Don't try to race on the 40. Because I don't like that. If it's a big shootout, if Flacco plays, can throw the ball, even Browning, I mean he can throw a good ball. I mean he's not going to make the same good decisions that Flacco's going to make, but he still throws a good ball, and they've averaged 30 points at home.
All right, we'll talk about all that tomorrow. Don't waste the good stuff today. So that's going to do it. That is Forward Progress, a Chicago Bears podcast on 312 Sports.
10, 219, 219.
Forward Progress, a Chicago Bears podcast with Dan Bernstein and Matt Abaticola on 312 Sports.